beautiful souls. I hope you're doing well. Today, I have the honor and pleasure to have again with me Susie Mullion, who has come on the channel twice. We had two interviews together. One was presenting you and who you are, your life journey, but also your beautiful connections upstairs with different Pleiadians mostly, but not just, if I remember well. And in the second interview, we had the opportunity to go a little bit more in depth into your practice as an acupressure practitioner, which was really interesting. And it's a beautiful modality that perhaps you'll talk a little bit more about today, because you had a wonderful update to your training and more in-depth training lately. And you shared with a few of us, and we thought it was really, really interesting. I'm sorry. And I thought today, well, why not bring Susie again and share a little bit more about that wisdom she always has, and a little bit more updates about her practice, but also about the things that she has discovered through that journey of learning and journeying within yourself. So welcome, my dear Susie.
Thank you so much. Glad to be back. It was wonderful to be with you.
It's a pleasure is mutual, as always. So you have recently did a little bit of an update in your well, it's not an update, it's more like a in-depth a training that's complementary to your already quite rich I can find a word right now, practice, I guess.
Yeah.
So would you like to tell us a bit more about that particular course and, things that followed that really had, yeah, go ahead. My brain is a little bit fried today. I apologize.
I get it. I totally get it. I'm trained in process and clinical acupressure. I'm just going to do a brief recap. I don't want to go in too far because of the other two videos, but process is processing trauma, childhood trauma, really any kind of trauma. You've gotten into an accident that gets stored in the body. So that particular process or modality of acupressure helps release that from the body. And if you're dealing with trauma, you're working with a psychotherapist already, and the acupressure with that really helps bring forth the soul connection, relaxes the body. Clinical is exactly what it sounds like: neck ache, backache, stomach problems, menstrual problems, anything like that, which can be a symptom of trauma. It all kind of works together, and it deals with the meridians in the body. It's Chinese medicine. And when just everyday life, our stressors, things that we've go through, our body gets out of whack. So by doing these different things, whether it's acupuncture, acupressure, shiatsu, yoga, meditation, all of that balances out those systems. Now, the class I just came out of was Clinical 2, which was an expansion of what I had learned in the beginning of October, just before Chiswick. And this was about the meridians, the organs associated with the meridians, and the 5 elements in ancient Chinese medicine, and how the meridians and organs are associated with that. So you can look at someone, if someone is coming into my practice, I can, not diagnose, but get an idea of what element is off, and then what meridian and organs are associated with that element, and how to, then it determines which protocol I would use to balance that out in them. And that's basically what I learned. And Chinese medicine is it's so fascinating. It makes sense, because our body is just this amazing machine, and the slightest little thing can just really just throw it off. And then if you don't catch it soon enough, it just snowballs. And I know with myself, my gallbladder meridian was off, because I was looking at all these things and going through like what all the different symptoms were, whether they're in balance or out of balance. I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. So I had 5 days. It was a 5-day course, and 5 days of practical, and then you're on the bed, you're getting body work, and every single one of those meridians got balanced out, and it was just it's just amazing work, and I fell in love with it. I was, angelically or divinely inspired to go into this. And when I started working with it, it was just, I just like, it makes sense to me. And I honestly did fall in love with the work, and it really does work. I'll give a brief example. Prior to me leaving, for the class, it was out of state, so I had to travel. And my husband had severe asthma. So, and he just went into just a horrible attack just from the season change. And it was on a Sunday, and his breathing was horrible. And I said to him, I'm going to do some acupressure on you. And I just figured it was just going to balance him out. And I should know better to even second guess or even, question. But I started doing what's called respiratory release. And I didn't even do the basic. You're supposed to do the basic protocol before and then go into whatever other not modality, but whatever other balancing formula you're going to use. And I didn't even do the basic protocol. I just went right into the respiratory release. And by the time I got halfway through the first side, the wheezing lightened up. By the time I was halfway through the left side, it was very, very faint. And when I finished up what we call the Great Central Channel, and that's balancing out the chakra system, he sat up and he says, I can breathe. And we both just sat there, and I was like, oh my God, that really works. And we were both kind of like, I was pleasantly surprised, although I should have known better. And he was just like in shock. He says, yeah, because I was just, I can breathe. And it's just amazing how you balance that out and balance out the body. You feel relief. I've done that with him with hiccups. He had horrible hiccups last summer, and I did the I don't remember off the top of my head what the balancing is called, but it was 4 hiccups. And by the time I was finished with it, they were pretty much gone, and I gave him a sprig of mint. They were completely gone.
Wow.
So it really it does work. It's just amazing.
Wow, beautiful. So, I mean, not that we needed convincing, but it's definitely a beautiful example that it does work. When you came back from your training, you have mentioned a lot about in private conversations about this notion of healing being something we all do for ourselves, and the practitioner being the facilitator of that healing. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that standpoint for you in terms of in your practice. How do you interact with the client in terms of, for example, you mentioned psychologists or psychiatrists can help someone who has trauma blocked, but how can your practice bring a complementary facilitation to the healing by the person itself or herself?
What this does is it is very empowering to the client, to the person, where if you think about how we go into doctors, we get a pain, we go into a doctor, we're all freaked out. Well, what is it? Where's it coming from? So we're putting our expectations and our power in their hands. So they tell us to take this, that, the other thing, where this is empowering the client to go within, to know that they have the power within themselves to heal themselves. Our bodies are an amazing thing. It knows how to heal itself. We have to get out of the way. And a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this myself. I have, my hips hurt, and I'm always like, oh, my hips hurt, my hips hurt. I need to stop saying my hips hurt. And they'll eventually, as long as I'm eating, doing the right exercises and yoga and things. But this is balancing the body, allowing the client to go within. They can go into deep sync. They can just go into relaxation. And it allows the body to just start to, lack of a better word, normalize itself, regulate itself, and to let the client know that they have the power to do this themselves. Now, with the psychotherapy, this modality of acupressure I do was formulated by Dr. Amina Rahim. She was a transpersonal psychologist that wasn't getting the results with her patients that she felt she would. So she just studied Chinese medicine. She was married to Dr. Fritz Smith, who created zero balancing. So she took 36 of the most potent acupuncture points and created the basic protocol. Well, actually, not the basic protocol, but that was one of the modalities. But she took these points and created the basic protocol and the other different modalities. And these points are so potent that they really get to the root of the issue. Now, some people can go into deep sync. I've gone in my sessions, I've had recalls, extraterrestrial recalls. I've seen childhood trauma. My husband, when I was doing him, he started to get messages. Now, that doesn't happen to everybody. That's not the purpose and the point of this. It can happen only if, and it happens randomly, only if the client's ready, but really the whole point is to balance out the body. With the balancing, the client can go into a deep sync. And I'll just give an example of myself. I was in one of the classes, and my teacher, I was getting body work, and she was going right back behind my shoulder blades. And I noticed my body was trying to pull away, and I thought that was very interesting. And I told her this, and she says, well, what's going on? So she has you ask questions. And eventually it came out of being, different betrayals that I've had and feeling like I was stabbed in the back. So now here's a perfect example where I was completely relaxed. I was very calm. I trust her. She was not hurting me, but it's something in my body. My brain is saying, I'm good, but my body's saying, no, we're not.
Mm.
So with the psychotherapy, somebody may be working with, and even with psychotherapy, I've been through, counseling myself from different past experiences. They don't fix you. They don't tell you what to do. They might give you exercises to work on or give you a different, way to look at things. But the whole point with any of this is for you to heal yourself in your own way, because there's no one right way to do it. What may work for me, might not work for you or someone else. So, a person can get so far through psychotherapy and still have, an issue with something. They still might have, anxiety over certain things. So coming into acupuncture, acupressure, doing the body work will help relax the body to let the body know it's safe. You're safe now. It's safe to let this go. It may happen in one session. It may happen in several sessions. And that's how this is so empowering to the client. It's not saying, here, do this and this will fix you, rather than when the person is ready, when the body is ready. I've worked on people where their bodies were so easy to talk to. There's one lady I was working on, and her body was just, I could speak to it intuitively. And it would tell me, and I just knew where to, how long to say, do you want more? And it would just, her body was saying, please stay. And then it would let me know. And at one particular point, I was up here, which is called excess baggage, and it let me in far. And then it started to push me back out until it regulated where it wanted me.
Mm.
And that's, every person's body will do that. Someone who's really locked down, who is fearful, who's been through maybe a lot of physical abuse. They may need a more gentler touch than someone who's, never had that, or may like, deeper pressure. So it all depends. So there's no one way, and you vary and regulate per the individual.
What's beautiful about what you say is that there's this intrinsic wisdom to the body, to each body, and it's also part of the practitioner's role to be receptive enough to feel this play or this um, dialogue with the patient's body, which is demands a certain, I imagine, a certain presence and a certain disposition to receive this. That's interesting. And what I found also interesting in what you say regarding, for example, psychotherapy, which is, again, we're not here to say bad things about psychotherapy, which is obviously very complementary. But what's really interesting, and I've noticed in psychotherapy sometimes, is that people who tend to be very much in their brains, like I am, and probably you are as well, I don't know, but we tend to become, we're stuck in the words, we're stuck in a certain posture, and not physical, but I mean like in our mind, a standpoint, and we're going to use certain expressions and words which might not necessarily translate the the reality of what the body went through. We kind of play a game, or we play a sort of theater there, while the body never lies. So you're able to really address or facilitate, if you want, that connection with the body, which will never lie, unlike the words. And so that's what I love about your practice, is that, or this acupressure practice, is that the body's you go directly to the connection of the body, and so it can't lie to you, and it's probably faster, I guess, to address certain things. I don't know.
It all depends on the person. Somebody who's really willing to let go of certain things will go through it, process quickly, where other people it may take them some time, and that's okay. Because depending on what they've been through, I mean, there are people who've been through horrific things, that sometimes when we've been through things, very challenging things in our past, people have a tendency to hold on to that. It's like a coat, where a protection. So to really let that go, it can be challenging for some people. Some people have a lot of anger and they wear that like, a shield because they don't want to be hurt again. So, they have to be willing to move beyond that, and they'll do it in their own time. Because, like I said, each person is different. Each person reacts differently to something. We may all see the same thing, and some person might be horrified by it. Somebody might think it's funny. Another person might be angry. One person might just be completely, not fazed by it at all because they have those blocks up. And depending on the person will determine how they go through their own healing. And it's all about the person, how they want to work at their own healing. Some people, I mean, I've known people just working in the beauty industry for many years. There was people that didn't want solutions. They just wanted to complain about their problems, their aches and their pains, and they wanted sympathy. And no matter what kind of solution you offered them, it was like they, kind of look through you and it's like, oh yeah, but blah, 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 blah. And they go on to something else. And that's they're not going to get anything out of any kind of healing modality. And also, like with this, I want to stress, this isn't an exchange of energy. This isn't me healing someone. This is, me or anybody who does this work, meeting them at interface. And what that means is I know where my energy begins and where their energy begins, and it never connects. Because again, that's not healthy for me. That's not healthy for the client. So that's why I'm very leery if anybody says, oh, come in, I'm going to, put downloads into you, or I'm going to, activate you here, this and that. Again, you're giving your power away to someone else. This, again, you made interface, and all I do is hold the points as the body responds and begins to regulate itself. So again, it's very, very empowering to the person.
So for someone who doesn't know this modality very well, so this is obviously something you can only do physically in person. It's not something you could do at a distance.
It can be done at a distance. I've heard it's done at a distance. There's been a few people that have done it. It can, because it is energetic work, and it's all intention. One of my teachers was telling me that she had a gentleman come in who had a bleeding tailbone. Now, she was not able to touch his coccyx bone. So she actually went under the table with her intention to go on to that point on his tailbone. And again, worked from the top and whatever, protocol she was using. And she said halfway through the session, he said, "Can I get up?" And she says, "Absolutely." So he got up, he went into the bathroom, and she says it was like a fire hose going off. So he comes out and he says, "I have to tell you," he says, "I don't know what you did." He said, "but I have not been able to urinate." And that was the first time I was actually able to empty my bladder.
Oh.
So just with the intention, you know, it can work. I have not personally tried doing, distance healing.
Yeah.
So I can't personally say whether it does or doesn't work, but I've heard that it can.
Okay. Now, Susie, we talk about the client and the results, and that's amazing in itself, obviously. I'm a little bit curious about also what it is for you as the practitioner. This whole process of not only training, but also letting yourself be in this posture of the facilitator. What this has brought to you personally in your life journey in terms of transformation, in terms of inner journey, the whole thing. I mean, the training itself, the practice, what does it bring to you? And yeah.
Well, I went into this very left-brained. I had, I'll just recap real quick. I had a dream, I'd say it's about 2 years ago. It was August of 2022. And I was working on a blue skin woman, and I was touching these points here, which are stomach, points. And I heard one word behind me from the left, the man saying acupressure. I didn't know anything from acupressure, so I woke up and I said, okay. So I know enough to trust, I'm very close with the angels and my guardian angel, and I said, okay. So I started to try and find, how do you go in training? How do you get certified? What kind of licensing that you need? And it took me a few months, and a vocational technical school, they have night classes for adults, and it was self-care acupressure. So I went in and I took the classes, and I met my teacher, my mentor, who I absolutely love. She's like one of my soulmates. I just adore her. And she had me come in for the SAVA protocol certification. Now, what the SAVA protocol is a protocol that was developed for the first responders in 9/11. So it's very balancing, and it's for trauma. So I took that certification, and then she handed us her schedule for the summer for her summer certification. This is process acupressure 1A, clinical, and process acupressure 1B, which is second. They split up the process acupressure 1 into 2, A and B. So I went into process acupressure 1A, very left brain. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I saw, and I'm going to learn how to do this. And what happened with me is it blindsided me, because I never expected to experience the healing. I just thought, okay, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to do this. But within the learning, you get things come up and you heal. So that's how I know this works. And for me, what came up for me was um, unresolved grief. And it was a wall I couldn't get through. No matter how much meditation I did, um, how many books I read, exercise, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I just couldn't. It wasn't like I knew what it was and I didn't want to deal with it. I just couldn't figure out what it was. And with the learning and with the body work, I realized that, we put up this, somebody asks you, oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. But really, we're not okay. And it's okay to say that. The whole point is not to stay there because you also use that as a shield. And that's when it hit me. And I was like, this works. And that's how I fell in love with this work and this particular, modality of acupressure, because it got to parts of me that I couldn't get to logically, because I needed the body work and I needed to add in the soul connection, which this does. And so then I was able to see what it was. And then I just started journaling, just writing things down, of all different things that happened in my life. But from an observer perspective, not as if to say, oh, what was me? This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this is how it made me feel. And I'd move on to the next thing. And that in itself was very empowering, to be able to just say and acknowledge and finally say, okay, this is the different things that have contributed to this whole, all these multi-layers that we put around ourselves. And like I said, sometimes you don't even realize it. The person didn't, I didn't realize it. I knew there was something I couldn't get to. And that's how I came, to be so passionate about this, and just continued on with the work. And my teacher had said that she wanted us to, me and the other girl I was in the class with, to become teachers. So I needed the clinical one. And that class wasn't until after the teacher training. So she trained me privately. So I had the process and the clinical, and then I got certified to teach the SAVOR protocol and the good points, which is self-care. So and then I can do workshops. So, and that's where a lot of this is really going to come into play for me, is the teaching, because a client can come in to get their session, but they need to do homework. They need to know how to take care of themselves at home. So the two I gave you at Chiswick are probably the two I'm going to use mostly. I'm doing a short little, there's a pop-up at the yoga studio I work with on Friday. And I'm going to teach the deep relaxation. And it's very simple. It's just a few points. But, again, it's for me, it was knowing that it works, not just saying, well, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to, work on people, but seeing how it works. And I'm always amazed on how, when I work on someone, how it changes them, and how I did a client, one of my nail clients that I still have a few of those, and she had fallen, and her face was just so badly bruised. And when we fall, when we're older, you become frightened. Even really any age, even, I'm in my 50s, even if I fell now, you become, the body becomes afraid. It's not sure of itself. So she was very out of body. So I said to her, I'm going to just and I did the SAVOR protocol on her, and just within touching just a few of the points, she's like, wow, I feel this already. So by the time I finished, she was like, oh, thank you so much. She says, I feel so much better just doing a 10, 15 minute, protocol on her. And that's, what happens even at car accidents. My teacher, she had gotten into a bad car accident several years ago, and she was saying about how she was just so flighty. She was out there. And finally, one of the, her colleagues had said to her, we need to get you back in your body because you're not in grounded anymore. So, and that's also what this does, is it grounds you back in.
Which is very important as well.
Yeah.
And what I love about your experience is that, you went there in the hope of perhaps facilitating healing, but then you ended up, not only healing yourself,
Yeah.
but just going in through this beautiful inner journey and spiritual journey, because it has become more than just a practice for you. It has opened doors for you, in inner doors, and connections as well to your higher self and your guidance. And so it, some people go into these really, like you say, left brain practices, but then it ends up just, changing your life totally. And you have mentioned to me, and I don't know if that's something you feel like discussing today, maybe we'll see, but you have mentioned that you have this, well, I know you're a little bit of a creator. I mean, you have created beautiful things that you share in markets and things like that. But I also know that you have this real interest for creating beautiful tools of healing as well. You have shared with us some tools you've made with a mix of copper and beautiful. Oh God, sorry. Today my brain is crystal. Can't find a
Crystals.
word. Sorry.
Yeah, crystals. Yeah,
Yeah,
quartz.
but I mean, like
Yeah.
the transparent crystal. I can't find a word now. Anyway, so I was wondering if you'd like to talk a little bit about that, because I know that's something you're kind of aiming at as well, to include that in your practice. Is that something you'd like to share more about, or
Yeah.
it's still okay?
Yeah, I'm still working on the soldering brazing of trying to make tensor rings. I had seen in a dream an ankh, and I was shown how to make it. So I had made that for myself. I don't have it in here. I'm actually in my session room. It's actually my bedroom. But I'm really kind of intuitively guided to make these things, certain things. I had made a trident for Elena, and I was guided to make that for her. And I just had made an ankh for Tina. Again, it was like something said, make this for her. She kind of needs it right now. And so I did that. But eventually, as soon as I figure out how to do, the soldering and brazing properly, I will be, adding those to my practice. So right now I'm still like, in the beginning learning stages of it. And for me, when you're working with any kind of healing tools or energy tools, I have to be very careful when I'm working. If I get frustrated, I have to step back and walk away, because it's not good to put that energy into it. And because I'm learning, I feel that I'm getting frustrated a lot with certain things, and I'm just gonna, okay, I'll come back to you. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing, and it's just again, it's just something like within my gut, and intuitively I'm guided to do. Um, and I certainly, I don't know if I would sell them per se, because they are energy tools that right now I'm being guided. The ones I've made for other people, I was just intuitively guided to do that. So, but the tensor rings, things like that, that will definitely, I would, eventually, if people wanted to purchase them,
Yeah.
I would. But
And it's also, there's always that question in the spiritual community about selling things. And we have this little bit of this discomfort. I have the same problem with my collages, which I imbue with high vibrations and high frequencies. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to give them all. But at the same time, one has to live. And so we're always kind of, juggling
Right.
with these notions of like, what is fair, but it's also an exchange of energies, So if you offer these to people, it's also an opportunity to create an exchange of energy, which is also beautiful. So there's nothing wrong there. But, I understand your position, your questioning there, and you're still in a process, I guess, of developing this products or tools or
Right.
so just out of curiosity, because I think you use like a coiling of again, I can't find a word. What's the metal there?
Copper.
Thank you, copper.
Yeah.
Is that mainly how you work with this, or is because I'm thinking about what our friend Tatiana is doing as well with her jewelry, where she's kind
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
linking the crystal with the copper with these coils, I guess. Is
Hmm.
it in the same way that you do
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're both working on a electroculture. I'm working on, the electroculture just for myself to put out in the garden, but it's a twist of two copper strands, and they're twisted clockwise.
Nice.
So, and that's what she does with her jewelry, and also she makes the electroculture. She just had a show that she did, and she said
Yeah.
they all sold. She knows, so
Wow.
everybody's really like, that this is our future. This is where we're going to be, heading. More and more people are starting to research different healing modalities and how to heal themselves, and herbalism and energy work. And so it's just really wonderful because, eventually, people are starting to get away from, archaic medical system that, is not for healing, it's for treating. Now, I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. I think there's certain pharmaceuticals out there that are very beneficial, but a lot of them, have more horrible side effects than they do help. So, if the whole, what we need to do, and once we get past all this nonsense that's going out in the world, and our food gets healthier and better, you know, um, with vitamins and energetically, because now just with pesticides and the fertilizers and all this other crap they use, um, we'll be eating the proper foods to maintain our health, and then only need, different herbals to treat, as things come up. And so we're not going to really need the medical system, in the future. So, and that's, and all these tools, Reiki, acupressure, acupuncture, shiatsu, um, and there's many others that I'm not even, naming here, that are really, they're very balancing and healthy to the body, and that's going to be our future, and more people are going to be doing this for others.
Yeah.
So that that's
Absolutely.
that's what I see for our future.
Hmm.
And also too, like, since we're on the, future of Terra, I just give you an example of, like, my husband. I started making bread, and it was because you go into the supermarkets, and even if you buy a loaf of bread that was baked in the store, if you look at all the ingredients that's in it, there's all these preservatives, and I don't think that they're actually baking the bread there. I think it's a mix that they're using. And I said, I don't want all this stuff, in the bread. Let me make my own. It's flour, yeast, and water. So, I started I started baking bread, and my husband showed it the picture I had done, to his coworkers, and one of his coworkers says, "Well, I have chickens, I have eggs," and they started talking. He said, "I'll buy some eggs from you," and he says, "No, I'll give them to you. I don't want money." And so I
Barter.
gave him bread, yeah, and that's how I that's it was like an epiphany that next day. And I was in the shower, and it just finally hit me. And it was like, this is how it's going to be. I mean, once, we don't have the stupid monetary system that we have. I mean, well, we will have some form of a monetary system, whatever that's going to be. But we're not going to have to worry about, how do I get, how do I pay my electric bill? How do I do this? How do I do that? I mean, I don't know how long in the future this is going to be, but this is going to happen. And this is how it's going to be with people, because money's not going to mean anything anymore, because we're not going to have to worry about how do I keep my electric on? How do I pay my mortgage? How do I, we're going to be able to, um, a lot of our energy is going to be free. So that's off of our head. I think a lot more people are going to be going into growing their own food. So, we're going to come into where, I can bake somebody, I can give him bread and he wants cookies. Okay, so I'll bake him cookies and give him bread and he'll give us eggs. I mean, we're happy to pay him money for it, but he doesn't want it. So he was happy to take that. And and I I'm saying to my husband, I said, I can bake bread, I can, bake cookies, or, um, I can do manicures, pedicures, I can do an acupressure session on someone. So when we don't have to worry about money anymore, it's I see that happening. I see
Yeah.
more and more people coming together and saying, I could do this, I could do that. And so how
It's
long
also,
that's going to be, I don't
we'll
know,
see.
but
But
it's
it's also
coming.
that notion of money is uh, the standpoint that we've had until now regarding money is also the problem, because money in itself is shouldn't be a problem because it's just an
No.
energy exchange. So, I mean, it's a barter exchange the same way, may you use money or you use
Mhm.
eggs and bread. It's always about an energy exchange. And some people have a tough time perceiving money as an energy exchange. It's more
Yeah.
like, this thing, And so if we can also switch our perception of things, the barter element, or the exchange element of energy will just become more natural and
Mhm.
organic, and probably our perception of the whole monetary system will change as well, just naturally, because we're not going to see this as a problem or something you put on a pedestal, like money is everything.
Mhm.
It's actually just energy exchange. There's no guilt. There's no, nothing should be associated with it. It's just the flow. And, that's gonna necessitate some time for a lot of
Mhm.
people to process this. It's probably that's what's gonna take the most time. It's
Yeah.
not the actual change. It's more like our perception of it, probably.
Mhm.
But that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. It's sad to see, I see people are just so frazzled. I mean, they're going to jobs they hate in order to make a paycheck to keep the lights on or put food in their fridge, or, keep the mortgage paid. And they're kind of selling a part of their lives, a big part of their lives, in order to be able to do this. And they're so unhappy. I mean, imagine a world where we don't have to worry about that. So now somebody, if they want to be an artist and sell their paintings on the beach, you know, they can.
They don't even have
Or,
to sell them,
they
which
don't
is
even have to
beautiful.
sell
They
them.
can just give
Yeah,
it
they can
them
give them
for
away.
free.
It's like, somebody can come along and say, um, I like your painting. I have this bracelet here, Oh, okay, great, so, or whatever. But
Mhm.
um, they can do that. And that's going to be wonderful. And you're going to see people so much happier and calmer, because of that.
Can you, I'm sorry, Susie, if when you get a little bit further from your microphone, I don't hear you as well. If you can
Okay.
just go, yeah,
All
sorry.
right.
Yeah. I heard you,
Just me.
but just
Okay.
just in case. Yeah, this way
Okay.
we can hear you super well. Tell us, Susie, before we slowly bring the interview to a close, what are your plans for your practice, for yourself, in terms of your trainings or your practice? What's upcoming for you?
I'm going to continue with my trainings to get my actual clinical certification. I need to do different seasonal practicums. So I'm going to be doing that. I have to get a like 300 hours worth of actual practice. So that's what I'm going to be working on. But the future of what I'm doing, I'm going to be getting in all the certifications through now. It's now called Inside Acupressure, and then I'm going to teach. Yeah, because I people need to learn how to do this for others, because this is just so important. Healing is so important, you know, for our people. And I can't tell you how many times I've just, just looked around and said, our people are in such need of healing. And so, that's where I'm headed. I cleared up a room, and I set up a little, studio in here that I can do acupressure sessions on, family, friends, that kind of a thing. but I will be working at the yoga studio that I work at now 1 day a week. So I'm going to be doing there. I'm going to be doing workshops and just empowering people to work on their own healing in their own way and teaching them what they can do for themselves to help themselves feel better.
First, and then
Yeah.
can always support others. And it's just like a never ending, beautiful cycle of
And
high
it's just
vibrations.
yeah, exactly. And it's just amazing how our body knows, like, just like um, what it needs. Just even like with just the different acupuncture points. Like I'll just give you a couple examples. Like, when we see something shocking, like if we see something, well, like what's our first thing to do? We go, well, right here on the tip of our nose is this is governing vessel. This is actually for like stress and shock. So
Oh,
our you know instinct is to go like this, and we think we're covering our mouth, but we're not. We're actually going for this point. And
interesting.
two right here, and these are actually stomach points right up in here. And these are also for it's more like a clear brain fog, headache. It's like a release. And myself, when I get into like, and it's always with a mess. If like something falls and there's like a mess everywhere I have to clean up, I will literally stand there, and I never realized I was doing that. I just found this out at this last class. I will stand there like this and say, okay, all right, where do I begin? And I'm going for these points. I had no idea why I was doing. I just always did that. Like, and how many times you see people, it's like, they get just frustrated. They're like, oh my God, I don't like, but that's what you're doing. And you don't even realize it. And one
Interesting.
other one is, when you get like you're aggravated or stomach ache, you go right, there's a point right in here, right below your what is
Solar plexus?
it's by the solar plexus. It's just underneath the rib cage, right in the middle. And that's what's called an alarm point. When you press that point, like when your stomach's bothering you, that's actually to help with the indigestion and the pain. And like we just do that automatically. That's what I'm saying, how our body knows, it just instinctively knows where to go, or
Is
and
that
what to do.
wisdom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that. Yeah,
When
our
we
body
stop
is
being in
very
our
wise.
brains all the time and we kind of let go,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
facilitate the natural wisdom of the body. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
My dear Susie, we have, well, the two links are under the photo of this video here, so people can actually have a look at what you have. You have a web page on I'm sorry, a Facebook page,
Mhm.
and you also have a Telegram page that people can join, I guess, if they wish so. So
Mhm.
where you share about of your wisdom and some beautiful high frequencies there. And so if people want to join and connect with you with your beautiful
Mhm.
energy, they're welcome to do so. Again, thank you very much, Susie, for coming on the channel and sharing your experiences, your inner journey, and how your actual practice has not only helped many people and will continue to do so, but also has awoken you to your guidance, to yourself, to your own body's wisdom. And so, I mean, it's when I hear you talk about acupressure, I'm always thinking that it's not just a practice, it's also an opportunity for someone to do the inner journey, because
Mhm.
it just opens yourself as a practitioner. It opens yourself to the wisdom of your own body, and connecting with others as well. So it's a beautiful, beautiful practice that we don't hear a lot about. So
Mhm.
it's always good to have more information there. So thank you very much, Susie, for
Okay.
coming on the channel again, and take immense care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All my gratitude for helping this channel bring high vibrations and high frequencies to more people.